Welcome back to another episode of Movified. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi, owner of Salmon's Moving and Stores located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And today I have Ryan Marsh with Supermove. Everybody give it a big shout out. All these hands clapping in the background.
I'm going to have to clap myself on this. So welcome, Mark. I appreciate you bringing me on the Movified podcast here. Super pumped to dive into some things.
Yeah, man, for sure. And for those that are watching, you can see that Ryan even came in uniform, sporting our watermelon Movified, which is one of a very popular T-shirt. So anybody that's looking for one, hit me up, and we'll make sure we get you one. Ryan, you know what? I really actually just want to kind of start with like the basics of who you are, because everybody that meets you, that sees you, they know Ryan Marsh as this like fun, cool guy from Supermove. But you also came and you've had like a moving company, like you've done your own thing, right? So can you tell me a little bit about the history of like what, you being in the industry, what got you in the industry, what got you into Supermove?
It's a great question. And actually, it's a big misconception. I think Chad Codeney from Tighten Up kind of got this out there. It said I actually owned a moving company. I did not actually own a moving company, but worked for one for many, many years, over a decade, and really just kind of worked my way up through the ranks. Everything from loading the trucks to operations to dispatch to jumping into the sales side to basically running a full-fledged sales team and beyond. How I got there, I guess, was pretty crazy, right? And this is why anytime I chat with someone, I always like, how'd you get into the industry? Most people are born into it, fall into it, or what have you. I was on the flip side. I actually sold things to this moving company. I'm gonna leave that company out, who I previously used to work for, because they were not happy when I left those guys and went to the moving company. But I was making a lot of money with this particular company, and I had a child on the way, and my wife was very clear as to like, you're not going to be working 100+ hour weeks. Like, I need some assistance. I need some help. Well, I knew both owners of this moving company, and it was just kind of a long-standing joke of like, hey, we'd love to have you come work for us. Be on the sales team, lead this, lead that. And I remember one day sliding the check over like, hey, their pay stub. I'm like, hey, can you get close to this? And they're like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way you're going to get that in the moving side of things. And, about a year and a half went by, and we still kept talking. And it just kind of came to fruition, man. We went to dinner, and I was getting really, really tired of working 100+ hour weeks. And they're like, hey, 40 hours a week, weekends off, like you get a company vehicle, we've got your phone. And I was just like, screw it, man. Let's go test the waters with this thing. And little did I know that it was not 40 hours. It was not weekends off. I was working my butt off behind it, but I fell in love with it. Like, not immediately, I will tell you that. But after about 2 months, I truly fell in love with the industry and the people within. But it's kind of weird how I got started, man. It's like I knew both of these guys, but didn't necessarily know they were owners. I knew they worked for a moving company, and I signed up with these guys not having a clue what I was going to do at all. Gotcha.
What do you think some of the starting struggles were that you found going into the industry? Because I know others where they're like, well, I'm just there. I'm selling moving services. Like, this can't be rocket science. What were some of those beginning struggles when you got involved that you're like, whoa, this is a whole different ball game? Or like, yeah, you're right. This isn't just 40 hours a week. I have to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. I mean, one, legacy practices, I think, is what really legacy practices, lack of training, and just going from a world of having like the top tier tech, right? Having beautiful facilities, nice offices, like state-of-the-art phone systems, and switching gears, going back to, I'll never forget, it was my second day on the job, man. I heard this, and I'm like, is that a freaking typewriter? So I got up out of my chair, walked around the corner, and there was a move coordinator basically typing up a bill of lading, and I'm just like, whoa. So for me, I mean, just not really much training involved. Really, at the time when I got in, you're talking back in 2007, mentorship really wasn't a big thing back then. There was no Facebook groups. There was no awesome, like Tighten Up training videos and things of that nature. There wasn't any podcasts around. So it was really just trying to navigate in between the buoys, trying to figure out what's right, what's wrong, and, a lot of failure in between. I learned to fail really fast and come up with some different policies and procedures as we went on. But the legacy practices, and I still see that today throughout the industry. I think that was the toughest part for me, was going from having all the tools I needed to basically going back to Jurassic Park in prehistoric times.
Are you a mover looking to make an impact? Discover Moving Letters AI and join the ML Plus Club today. Elevate your customer engagement with the personal touch of handwritten letters.
If you want to take your company to that next level, it's the only way to subscribe. If you're doing anything but Moving Letters AI, you need to get on it. So it's going to take your business to that next level. You're going to see an increase in that revenue. Let's go.
I highly recommend using this company. They're amazing to work with. They even send you an email on how much work they're producing for you.
Don't miss out. Join the revolution and start making moves that matter.
Put a golden damn ticket in there with Moving Letters AI.
Hi, I'm Mark Hirschi with Salmon's Moving and Storage. Today, I want to talk about Tighten Up training. Why? Because this is Netflix grade quality training. It's not those old videos and VHSs that you got hiding in your office somewhere. It's online, it's easy to use, they're short videos, but they get to the point. My new employees, these guys run through these training programs, there's tests at the end, and they're coming out going, oh, I'm ready to rock. So if you haven't checked out Tighten Up training yet, get a demo done, get on board. Guess what else is there? Online portals for my sales staff. Can you believe it? These guys can learn how to overcome objections and book more leads today. So what are you waiting for? Go check out Tighten Up training today. Well, it's funny. Like I remember when I first got into the industry or was getting introduced to the industry, early 2000s, it was like a game of cowboys. Like it was wild. I used to show up at this one guy's office that was hiring me to build his website, and it'd be like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, and there would be like some stripper coming out of the office. They had like some pole off in the corner. Like I can vividly remember this, and like half the guys were there from drinking the night before, and this was like a Tuesday. Like it's just like the wildest shit you've ever seen, and and then you even flip the script to like some of the other moving companies I was doing work for, the larger ones. You'd go in their office and everything was, nothing, barely being used on computer. Everything was handwritten. Dispatch was done. I mean, when I came on board at Salmon's, dispatch was still being written down on a massive notebook, right? Appointments. Like there was a girl in the office. Oh yeah, for sure. It's crazy. There was a girl in the office that would take the notes and make the appointments, and then the sales girls would come in and take their slips to go out to do their estimates. And it was like the wildest thing. And and that at that point was like what, 2017, 2018. So it's a wild situation when you think in the moving industry how far behind we are. And it gets talked about now too, right? There's guys that go, man, I went to like this HVAC conference, or I went to this painter's trade or this construction, seminar. And there are guys in software out there that is way cutting edge and way above what we're doing. And we're slowly just catching up in this moving industry. And it's wild. Like it's funny. It makes me chuckle when I think back of like back in the day.
I remember like going on the road, like every morning I'd basically come into the office. I'd have to track down and ask 4 or 5 people, hey, where's the appointment binder? I think it's back in operations. I think it's in dispatch. Check with the other coordinator. And I'd finally grab this thing and I'd flip to the page for the day, like Wednesday, 12/11, whatever. Okay. I'd pop the thing open, pull out the slip, go over to the copy room, make a copy of that. And like, that was my daily, hey, almost like my GPS. That was like, okay, I know I've got an appointment here, 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 and here. Let's go. And I'd make sure I put that 3-ring binder page back in there. But same thing with book jobs, man. We had it was called the book, right? Like the Holy Grail, and you could never find it. It was always stashed in somebody's desk. But when we booked a job, you literally went to the book with pen or with pencil and wrote in where the job is, where is it going, how much weight, and then you do this. We're always booked at least 2 weeks in advance. But God forbid you had a change. That was like the worst thing. If you had to cancel a move or postpone it, going back to ops and dispatch, you're like, man, this is going to be a one hell of a fight, because they've got to erase that whole book and rewrite that, and then enter whiteboards. We went from the book to the whiteboards, but we never got rid of the book. So it was always the thing, hey, does the book match the board? Does the board match the book? And I'm left-handed, man. So when I was writing on that board, I'm erasing it as I'm going through as well. It was just a disaster, man. But you know what? We made it work. We were successful with it. You know, I see it's a big thing in this industry here. I keep seeing is those legacy practices, right? Like they work. Companies are successful doing this. They're just not operating at the top tier like they could be, leveraging some technology. And you know,
when I think back of the times when I had my other moving company at Action Movers, when I looked at month end, I used to almost love it, right? A game of organization, a game of, how am I dispatching all of these jobs with these many trucks, this many crew, and being as efficient as possible. And by, taking the different bill of ladings and mapping things out, okay, if we do this one at, 9 o'clock and we do this one at 2 o'clock and we could even squeeze this one at 6 o'clock. Okay, that guy's going to be done at this time. And we could send those guys over to make sure that gets done. There's a game of just mapping and coordinating when it comes down to the actual, essence of dispatching. That part of it I miss, because now with the different CRM systems, you have this calendar layout, but everything's kind of just there, right? Like it's just like all square little boxes. There's nothing that you can really tangibly look at. I find that when I'm sometimes seeing this stuff, I can't have multiple windows open of the different jobs if I'm trying to stack this job with that job, because I'm able to open up the addresses, or I don't see the addresses. I have to click on that one job to load up the addresses, and then I can see this job. And, and that's kind of, where it gets me to the different CRM systems that are out there. You now obviously have left the moving industry, essence to get hired on by Supermove. How did that happen?
I was actually we were an early adopter of Supermove back when they literally, man, it was just like 4 buttons along the left-hand side. We were evaluating like every CRM system out there. We played with a bunch of them, 3 months, 6 months, even a year. And we just found that we outgrew those different systems really quickly, AKA we broke them very, very fast. So enter Supermove, and, did they have what we needed at the time? Absolutely not. Like they did not have what we needed, but it was more or less kind of the innovation, the speed at which they worked, and how fast that they were creating these things that we actually needed was what was really, really attractive for our organization, especially how we worked. So, fast forward, I think I was with, we were for about 2 years. Yeah, I think we got them in like 2020, end of 2020. And I left the industry, or left the moving side end of 2022. But just the relationship with the people that we had, we had bi-weekly calls. We were always assisting and helping out. So, if they had surveys or if they had questions, or we tried to break the system as well. The relationship was always there with those guys. It's the one thing I truly love about the Supermove team is the people within. And it just kind of happened. Like I knew I was exiting the moving industry. I wasn't sure where I was going. I planned on honestly taking 6 to 8 months off just to figure out what I want to do when I grew up.
What was happening in your life or in that situation that where you were like, dude, I got to get out of this industry?
Well, it's two-pronged piece, man. One, I was getting a little burnout, to be very, very honest with you, right? I mean, smaller organization. We only operate at this time with 6 trucks. I was wearing a million different hats, and it was Monday through Sunday. And I think the biggest mistake I made in my career there was it was a blessing and a curse at the same time. I gave my customers full access to me, 24/7 access, which if I were to go back into a sales role or executive role at a moving company again, my cell phone, people would have access to it, but just not the way they did, because it was, dude, I'm telling you, as crazy as Saturday afternoons, Sunday nights, customers calling, texting. And if I decided, hey, I'm actually at dinner with family, I'm not going to pick up, they're calling the office and, hey, I can't get a hold of Ryan. What the hell's going on? Like, this is crazy. So that was probably my biggest hiccup or mistake in the industry is giving our customers and clients full access to me 24/7.
That's a thing though, right? Like, I mean, an employee like yourself, I would cherish as an owner, because you're like, awesome, Ryan's got this, right? Like, you're out there, you're killing it, you're making the sales happen. Customers know who they can rely on, but you also then really start becoming like the face of the moving company. And there's like this amount of pressure on you because moving doesn't stop, right? Like there's lots of moving companies that are open all day, every day, right? And it even people say this even like, for Google, that you shouldn't even have a time period that's closed because it's a missed opportunity. So, let's dial back before things like Ring Central, before things like even Movebees. I mean, there were companies that I knew out there. I remember back in the day, there was like these two amazing ladies that operated in the interior of British Columbia, and they would book for small moving companies, right? Like the phone calls would kind of go to there. But even back then, it's like you didn't have some type of system to make sure that, are these calls being tracked? Are they booking it? How well are they doing? Are the leads being, taken care of? You just kind of hope for the best that these girls were booking these jobs and doing well. And from, and I believe they were, but it was a hard way to pass off, right? And for anybody that's like me, when you have a small moving company that's like your baby, you don't want to miss any opportunity. You want everything being booked. You want everything being taken care of. And if you find someone like Ryan that's like, man, don't worry, I got this, I'll take care of it and everything else, you're so thankful. But guess who's getting burnt out? Ryan.
Yeah. I even had it down to the point, man, on weekends and even holidays, after the second ring through the sales line, it was going to my cell phone. Like I said, looking back, like, holy cow, what was, again, for the love of the game, for the love of the company, like I put it all out there for these guys. I love them. I still, the ownership team there, I talk to them weekly. We have lunch bi-weekly. Love everything that they're doing over there. They're really, truly paving the way of kind of this modern day moving company, how they leverage tech and how they've truly transformed, what they do in the industry. They think of themselves as more as just a moving company, but we've got amazing people. We've got some pretty badass trucks, and we've got warehouse space. What can we do with all of that? And they're just absolutely crushing it. There is no peak and non-peak season. There was no peak and non-peak season with our organization because we were always very steady. We had 11 different lines of business that we operated within, and each one of those had their season, right? So Q2, we all know, household goods business. But what set us apart truly was Q1, Q3, and Q4. What are y'all doing between those 3 quarters? Because to us, that was the difference of being really, really successful and, making a lot of hay in the summertime and then just bleeding it away the rest of the year.
What was something that you were finding that was being really effective in working in your market?
Really effective, just being present, man. I was everywhere. So throughout all the chamber events, I was on the business roundtables, the ambassadors committee. I went to all the business after business events. It literally just became to the point where if anyone's looking or thinking or sniffing about moving, it wasn't call Nagley, it was call Ryan. And, that was probably the biggest piece, just being out there, being in the community, being known. And again, it's a smaller community. I think there's only like 66,000 people here. It's not that crazy. We have 3 other main competitors, North American agent, another Unigroup agent. I think we even had a Wheaton Beacons that was about a half hour away. So we had some pretty decent competition, but just being out there, being in the public, doing the right thing at all times, and just providing that level of experience to our customers really made us rise above.
Crazy experiences. What happened? Like, I want you to think of like a couple different stories from when you first got involved in the industry and you're like, holy shit, I can't even believe I've walked into this, to like, a couple of years later and you're like, this is still happening. This is still going on.
I mean, crazy. I guess, man, there's so many in the 12 plus years that I was in it. I mean, especially doing in-home surveys. I mean, I've walked in, knocked on doors, and just saw some of the craziest things you can think of. I'm not even sure if we can discuss it on here, but there was a local...
Sure we can.
All right.
Sure we can. Sure we can.
Hey, a local Ivy League school, right? Well-known school. I'll leave it at that. Used to do a ton of work up there, right? So a ton of surveys. These kids are, taking on their new law job. So the law agency or company was basically moving them. So I go up and do the survey. Dude, I remember walking in. It was 10:30 in the morning. I got there a little early, 10:25. I'm rapping on the dorm room door. Actually, it wasn't even a dorm room. It was like a suite. And dude, that door opens up and you can hear music and things going on. There's a pile of cocaine. There's all sorts of drugs. There's naked women. These guys are, school's over, right? School's out. These guys are, it was like a party from the night before that just did not end. And of course, they're like, hey, we're a moving guy. And for like 5 minutes, I was a part of the party. I was dancing a little bit, having a little bit of fun. But then I'm like, I need to survey this. Like, Yeah, that cocaine can go to 1.5. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Right.
Longs can go a couple there. That can go to dish. Like, holy cow. It's crazy, wild parties. But then I did have a couple, really sad moments, I would say. And, a lot of hoarders pieces, like just no different than what you see on TV. But there was a lady that lived in a particular area, Ithaca, New York, 55 years, married to her husband for a long time. He passed away. She did not want to move out to California. She made it very, very clear. But the kids, the family, they wanted her to go back. And she put up a good fight. But ultimately, she's like, my kids are making me come back. So I did probably 5 or 6 surveys on her home, gave her the over and above beyond white glove just because I felt for this lady, right? I mean, she's leaving the home that her and her husband built. They've been in this place for 55 freaking years. And, we got everything buttoned up, ready to go. And I visited her the night before. The moving trucks were going to show up at 9 a.m. And, it kind of gets me a little teary here a little bit. But, the crew showed up and knocking on the door and there's no answer, So I'm calling, no answer. I get in the car. I drive the 37 minutes to her house. And long story short, reached out to the daughter. She passed away in her sleep that night.
Oh, no.
So it just, the hair stands up, man. It's,
Yeah.
it's one of those moves that, unfortunately, we didn't get to, we did get to handle it. We got to service the back half of the move, right? Bring
Sure.
storage. Still business opportunities there. It sounds terrible, but moment in memory that she made it very clear. She's like, I want to stay in this house. Like, I'm not leaving. And she got her way.
I like it. You just gave me like a really upper and then you brought it right back down again. Oh, just sad and depressing. But hey, you got to move out of it, right? What a douchebag saying. Whoa. No, I love it.
But she still has to be taken care of, right?
Well, exactly. For sure. Exactly. And you talk to people where, natural disasters happen. At the end of the day, things have to get moved. Things have to get taken care of. Life does have to go on. It's an asshole way of saying it. I don't know. I still know that at the end of the day, something's got to get taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay. So
don't ask me those type of questions.
No, it's all good. When I think of the different CRM systems that are out there, especially over the last 4 years, most companies love me. Some of them hate me. Some of them just don't want to deal with me anymore because I try and grind them as much as possible. Shout out to Toby at Smart Moving. I'll never forget the poor guy had jumped in a vehicle Uber with a bunch of us, leaving, I think, one conference and going to another. And I'm sitting in the back seat. He jumped in the front. I'll never forget this. And I introduced myself, and I also introduced him. And I was like, oh, so you're from Smart Moving. And for 15 minutes on this entire car ride, I just ripped into him about all kinds of different things and this and that and X, Y, Z. And, bless his heart, he took it like a top-notch entrepreneur and answered all the questions necessary and boxed me with anything that was like, I'm not going to give you the real answer, and I'll let you know in a year from now, once my engineers get this all figured out. So, but saying this, I remember just like yourself, when Supermove first came out, and reaching out to someone like Ron June, Heidi, that was part of Supermove. I mean, she was always fantastic, loved her. And it was the openness to learn and understand what was happening in the moving industry, what I found set apart Supermove from other CRM systems, because there was a willingness to figure out how does a moving company operate and how can we make it easy and functional for them. Saying this, Supermove positions itself as more than just a CRM system, more of like an all-in-one moving software solution. Can you elaborate on some of the specific features that set Supermove apart that you wouldn't see on different platforms?
I think the biggest piece is the in-depth automations that we have. By far, the automations is going to be the number one piece for me, but I think also the ability to customize, because what you said a couple minutes ago about, how Juan, June, and Mark, truly, they traveled across the country to find out how moving companies operate. because Supermove as a whole, we want to solve the pain points of moving companies. But I feel like since I've been involved now with meeting hundreds and hundreds of moving companies and seeing how they operate, it still blows my mind away that how they operate so differently to try to get the same result. So, building a program or a CRM that might work for Mark and his team is not going to work for Ryan and his team, and so on and so on and so on, because everybody operates so differently. But I think back to, what separates us apart, the automations, the ability to customize, as we're not an out-of-the-box solution, right? Doesn't matter what tariff you operate with, how you operate. For the most part, we can conform to how you do things. But I think the most important piece, and I think this is what a lot of folks tend to forget about, is the people behind the walls in our organization. To me, that is, the CRM system, the movie command system. Sure, it's a great product. I love it. It's tremendous. It's continuing to innovate. But to me, it's the people behind the walls of the organization are truly what is the superpower of Supermove. The willingness to jump on calls at 9, 10, midnight, 1 a.m. I've seen this through the Slack channels. The ability to watch our CEO when an email comes at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night for a customer. Hey, small thing, but I need a little bit of help here. Seeing the CEO get to that before I got to it or somebody else, it's like, damn, look at this. So if that's one thing I could show people is, you break down the wall, you get rid of the stuff. Look at the people. These people, not these people, these amazing colleagues and friends of mine, everlasting friendships I've made. That's the one thing about this world. I've had deeper and tighter relationships in the 2 years I've been with Supermove than I did previously with a 12+ year company and working with people day in, day out in the same office. Just a tight-knit group, and everybody wants to solve the pain points. Everybody wants to solve the problem. And everybody wants to be number one. I'd never, ever worked for a team like this, ever.
Your moving software does the basics, but have you seen Supermove? It's the most comprehensive solution out there. Supermove has automations that respond and follow up with leads for you, even when you sleep. Don't want to do an on-site estimate? Use Supermove's virtual survey to get all the information you need without leaving the office. Once the crew is on their way, the customer gets a live link to follow along their route, which means no more last-minute phone calls asking where their movers are. Crews can indicate when they arrive at the location, use the app to walk customers through a digital bill of lading, fill out timesheets, and automatically calculate all job expenses, including drive materials and tax. Click the promotional link in the description to schedule a Supermove demo.
And I bet you if I had someone like Jason from Move It Pro, or if I had Toby on there, they're going to say the same thing. And I find that's where, or a Darsh from Movistics, the conversations that I've had with each and every one, it's so frustrating as a moving company owner to go, which direction do we go for a CRM system, right? And this isn't like some paid sponsorship because Ryan Marsh from Supermoves on here. I'll have Toby on here and grill him with the same things. I'll have a Darsh on here too and grill him with the same thing with Movistics, because each one individually has so many great features that as a moving company owner, you're always like, what makes sense? What works? Because you can look down the forums of Smart Moving and see the list of people complaining about something. And then you'll see the list of people praising what they're doing. Same thing with Supermove. When it comes down to adaptability, you said it earlier, not one moving company is the same. So it's very hard sometimes to make it work for that particular moving company. My company is probably, just as unique as somebody else's down the road. And, but, for myself, I'm like, oh, if they only did this, or if there was a small change in this, why does it seem so complicated to get something like that fixed? Like, is this like a Wong Jun question? Like, I just find it so frustrating and infuriating when I'm like, dude, like, just get that fixed and it'll be so much better. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. It's on like the, third quarter of 2027. Yeah. It's on that roadmap.
One thing I've learned, and again, that is a Wong Jun question, right? Like, I'm a mover. I'm not this crazy tech geeky software guy, but I will say that one of the biggest takeaways I've learned jumping into the tech side and really seeing how the biz dev team, or not the biz dev, the development team operates, is I have these same sessions, Mark. I sit there and say, can't we just do this? Like, just turn a switch on or flick a switch and like, boom, here we go. It's not that easy. So what might seem, and this again, just me speaking here, but what might seem like a super easy, like, hey, just add this little button right here, turn this little trigger on, and, just make it easy so we can go ahead and drag and drop. Like, can't we just do that overnight and like just launch that the next day?
Yeah.
It's not that easy, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I'm slowly learning more and more about this stuff. I just think it's more of, it's a little bit harder to do, or it's not as fast of a rollout as we all might think it would be.
Does Supermove, though, offer customization? I feel like I've asked this, but maybe not on the podcast. Offer more customization if I was looking for something like that, as opposed to, and I'm going to use this as an example because I brought it up to Wong Jun in the past. One of the things that always was a hard point was that my movie consultants would get phone calls from customers. And we're talking not just like random customers that are, I'm thinking about moving, whatever it is. This could be a production company. This could be an interior designer, that, people that are phoning up that are used this all the time that says, hey, Mark, I need you to tentatively book me in for like 2 guys in a truck on like this day. Like, just get me in here. I'll email you all the details later. And so our movie consultant wants to quickly be able to put in John Smith, or like, moving this day, 3 guys in a truck, and it's just saved. But unfortunately, most CRM systems that we've looked at just don't do that. They don't allow this to happen. You have to like fill out, the pickup address. They want to know a postal code. They want to know this. Oh, can you make sure you got that email address? Did you get the phone number? There's all these different things which will come later. But in order for her to at least lock something down so that the dispatcher knows, okay, oh, cool, there's this job that just came in for Friday, the details will come in later. To me, it seems like a simple, hey, can I just turn this off in the settings and have this as an option for my salesperson? It might not be the same for someone else that they need to have that, because there might be another moving company that says, no. Like, we want to make sure we have that phone number and that email address in case for a callback or whatever the situation is. Like, why is the Supermove customize this? Like, is there something where, like, if I said I was looking for this particular feature that could be done strictly for me, or does it have to be, hey, like, when we do a change, it kind of has to be, for the whole organization?
Yeah, I think, and I remember just seeing something on this last month. I don't know if it was for the storage aspect or a quick hold. I believe you could actually do something very similar to that right now within the platform. So you can basically go on there and have it.
Oh, now comes the, oh yeah, really?
I mean, I guess I can't see, why could you not?
Funny you would say that, Mark. It just came out.
A little bit.
Yes.
No, I see I get what you're saying. We had this a lot of times with national accounts. We're like, hey, you know what? Here's a job for you. Here's it going to go. The customer wants to move on this date, and this day. Can you ensure, in whether it's 2 weeks out, 30 days out, 60 days out, I want to get a blocker in there so none of our other sales reps go ahead and book that. I mean, I know there's some things you can do with notes and daily notes and things like that, but I can't see why you could not go in there and put in basically a hold on that calendar for whatever particular day it is. But I'll get back to you on that one. I'll update you here.
When this podcast drops, let's hopefully we have a solid answer.
So I guess the question is, if we go ahead and if that feature is on, is that going to work for Mark Hirschi? That's it? Just that little tiny piece of product? That's it? That's all you need?
That's it. The other issues that people come up to say me, but I've heard it, is I have a fleet of 10 trucks, but the majority, until it's like the summertime where I maybe even have to rent 2 or 3 extra, where I'm super busy, I might get into a time where it's now like, November, December, January, and my fleet is obviously drastically declined. I am maybe running 2 or 3 trucks, but based on Supermove's pricing, I am paying for my 10 trucks.
See, that's where I'm going to almost take the flip side of that. And I think we do a damn good job with this is we're very reasonable, right? So we understand that the average moving company running 10 trucks all summer is not running 10 trucks all winter. So they try to find kind of that medium ground of kind of what works best. How can the moving company benefit? How can you guys basically be up and running with all your trucks? But also at the same time, we do understand and we do get that business does dry up in the wintertime. So I think that's one thing that I feel like we do a really, really good job on is, if you're a 5 trucker, but then you're down to a truck and a half in the winter time, maybe you don't sign up for 5 Supermove licenses there. Maybe you only sign up for 3, right? And you can flex it. Maybe you flex it a little bit in the summertime to get your additional 2, and then maybe but there's got to be some medium ground to get.
Okay, but it doesn't sound so much like a sliding scale. That has to say, I'm now in June or July going, okay, I see that we're going to be pretty full. Phone up Supermove. Hey guys, bump me up to 10 licenses. Are you shipping me out, 7 more iPads, to make this work, or put the apps onto a phone? Like, am I just quickly buying that license and then a month later going, okay, now cancel me. I'm actually back down to 5 trucks. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, I just feel like
it's definitely not hey, you're 10 trucks for 3 months and then you're paying for 3 trucks for the remainder of the year. It's finding that happy balance. But yeah, if you do get to the point where you're like, man, you only have 3.
But where is that happy? I'm going to keep cutting out because I don't understand where that happy balance is, because if I say, okay, well, my happy balance is I want to get a license for 6 trucks. I generally have 6 trucks out and I have an extra 4 trucks that are going out. Can I still add those extra 4 trucks into my dispatch? They just won't have...
Yeah, they just don't have the tablet. Yeah, you could...
They just won't have the tablet.
In reality, I guess you could just do 1 truck through Supermove and you could still have 1 million trucks on your fleet. But that tablet, which is basically to give that ultimate experience that your drivers can work off of, run through all the digital paperwork, have that track my truck that goes out to the customer, have the timesheet. So on a local move, when the truck is driving, when the crew is working, when the breaks are happening. You wouldn't have that if you only had that 1 tablet, but I mean, to each their own on that. But no, I love the...
Then what are you doing then? You're just printing off an invoice, a work order, and that person's just manually doing it? I mean, like, I'm not looking to figure out the loopholes of the situation, but, as my brain is thinking, I'm going, okay, so if I'm that moving company and I go, well, okay, I found my even ground, it is 6. But maybe my top drivers that really know how to use the app and everything else, I will just print off the paperwork because I trust them. They can just do it manually. And then, the other 4 trucks that are now being dispatched out, they'll use the tablets because those drivers, maybe it's much more easier and they can keep track of the times and everything else. Like, is that kind of like your loophole to figure that out? I'm just trying to... I mean, at the end of the day, you want to have the things, or Supermove eventually going to come to like a scaling price points where like, here is like your price points, in the summertime, we see that you are typically running 10 trucks. So, this is your price point. And then as we get down to like November, your actual price points are going to decline and then it gets picked back up again in March.
Yeah, no, great question. I don't have the answer on that price point, but I also look at...
And that ends our time.
I also look at the flip side though is like what drives me crazy, and if you are a company that has 10 trucks and you're running 10 trucks for that 120 days of summer and then you're down to running 1 2 trucks, to me that's a bigger issue.
Well, for sure.
How do you not at least stay somewhat consistent? And again, this kind of ties back into that diversification and knowing the other lines of business out there. I mean, I once was running 12 trucks in the summertime and then going down to 3 or 4 trucks. But it was always ingrained in my head from previous leadership that this is normal. This is what moving companies do. It's how they operate. And it was just like, man, there's got to be a better way. And again, back to moving companies, we have trucks, we have amazing people, we have warehouse space. You can do so much more than picking up people's boxes and furniture. That's the last thing I want to do. If I ever do go back to a moving company, it is going to be on the commercial side. This household, that's tough.
Well, a lot of people even say that too, right? Is, I've seen moving companies transition from household. Okay, they got into commercial. All right, now they got in a little bit more into freight, and then they go, now this household is shit. I'd rather be doing freight and deliveries and commercial projects than anything.
Commercial was where it was at, man. You know, 30 to 35% margins in household, if you're lucky, fighting for the same business, everybody driving pricing down, customers over your shoulders, multi-point touches, and then, oh gosh, there's a claim, right? Versus 55 to 60% on the commercial side. The guys love it. It doesn't beat up your guys. It doesn't beat up your trucks. And you're not, trucks are always depreciating, but nowhere near as much as if you're running these things up and down the East Coast or West Coast to East Coast. So for us, that was our game. We were 80% household when I started, 20% commercial. By the time we left, we're 80% commercial, 20% household. Went from 12 trucks down to 6, doing 2x the business in annual revenue. So to me, that was like the incredible growth and scale.
Which is fantastic. We talked earlier about moving companies that would transition into a type of new software, right? Like that whole essence. Maybe it was just that conversation I had in my head, but I think back of like, you know, just how difficult it is to transition into a new software. Everybody loves a good sales guy. Ryan Marsh is the sales guy. This guy will get you sold to wanting to have Supermove, and you sign up on Supermove, and then you never hear from Ryan again. And now you're stuck with an onboarding guy and setting something up. I'm just giving people scenarios. It doesn't happen at Supermove, but giving people scenarios. You've been sold the product. You now have somebody that's going to onboard you, and it's just like, you know, that onboarding happens, let's say for the week, and you got things set up. And some the other companies are different. I mean, it's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. There's a month. There's great, you know, customer support backing it. But what does Supermove do when it comes to that onboarding? Because it's challenging to get your staff members, like, you know, whether you're a small moving company or even a large moving company, it's like finding that time to make sure that, you know, okay, we're now going to integrate this. And I want to take it from like 2 different scenarios to ask you. The ones that have had an existing CRM company, and let's say it's like a pile of dog shit of like their system, right? Like DOS, Windows 95 system. It's not like, you know, a cloud-based system. They weren't using QuickBooks, for example. That type of transition, and even the transitions of going, okay, everything was on paper and everything's on Excel spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff. What type of integration does Supermove do? Like, how is that team handling those both scenarios to moving company owners that are like, okay, I'm interested in wanting to switch over to Supermove, but like, how does that, you know, that seamless onboarding process that Supermove says it facilitates happens?
Setting the expectations up front of actually how long it's going to take, and almost having a timeline of this piece, because just as fast as we want to get that moving company up and running, like they've also got to assist and help themselves as well, right? So we need certain things from them. So in your example, we need your rates, we need your tariffs, any of the little wonky things, how you operate. The faster you can get that to us, the faster we can get you up and running. But I love your point as to the pen and paper versus coming from another software or another CRM system. We're seeing is actually going from one CRM system, switching over to Supermove. It's a heck of a lot easier of a process. Now, in my opinion, I thought initially it'd be, hey, someone coming from pen and paper to software, it'd be semi-easy because there's no comparison. There's no, hey, I was used to this function or I was used to that feature. Now I don't have it, but I have this real cool shiny object over here that seems really... No, pen and paper takes a little bit longer to transition, a little bit more pain there than it is from kind of the standard switching from CRM company A over to CRM company B. But I think having a team of people, one, obviously, if you are a moving company that is making that transition, who's your point person? Who's your main point of contact? Who is that team that's going to assist with that transition? And what's that rollout going to look like? How are you going to implement that change management piece? Are you just going to, which I see it all the time, successful rollouts versus unsuccessful is when you have somebody just rolls it right out and says, hey, this is where we're going, figure it out. So I think rolling it out in digestible chunks, but again, back to how difficult, well, not difficult, but how wonky does your company operate? If you're just doing local moves and, hey, here's my local rates, here's this, here's that, we can get you up and running in a couple days in reality. If you're the Mark Hirschis of the world that have 15 different tariffs, 1,700 different rates, you want to be able to set and hold dates for accounts and things like that, yeah, it might take a little bit longer, but really just if the moving company can get the things done that they need to get done, our team will do our part, and together it's kind of like a little dream team. We will hold your hand throughout the whole process. 100%.
You're holding my hand, or am I getting shafted to somebody else?
I'm always with you, man. Always with you. But yeah, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not account executive with Supermove. I am actually not into selling the platform and giving demos. Like, I'm the friend guy, man, which is one of the reasons why I love what I do. Is I
you got a great job. You got a great job.
Like I got to meet you. Look where I ended up. I ended up on like the most popular podcast in the world after meeting you at the Titan retreat. So like I think this is just super, super cool. But I got the easy job, man. Go out, make friends, tell stories of the industry, and the biggest piece, what I really love, giving back everything that I've learned, all my mistakes, all my wins, all these little hacks and knacks that I had of closing deals and how to gain additional accounts and how to get in the commercial side of the house. Like being able to work with other moving companies that want to switch gears, and the ability to give back to these guys is probably the favorite part of what I get to do, because I didn't have that when I was new in the industry.
Fantastic transition, Ryan. It's like I trained you myself. I want to finish off with this. Because of who you are, because of the fact that you've had this opportunity to meet so many different moving companies, go to so many different trade shows, meet so many different people in the industry, other competitors or peers, what would you say to moving company owners, some pros and cons of things that you've noticed that like they've either done wrong, they've done well when they are, trying to inquire about switching over to a CRM system, or like, and what they've done, some of the guys that have done things right once they've done it?
I'm trying to think how to dissect this question here a little bit. So what would I tell somebody, like a moving company owner? I guess say that question again, man. You got me a little...
I can't, because I just made it up.
What kind of question was that?
Let me flip through my notes. Look at yourself through all the people that you've met in the moving industry, where they've come to you with like all of these dozen questions about Supermove and like, why is it great? Or you sat there at the booth, and can you give us some of like the top tips of, hey, like, don't be asking these kind of questions, or like, these are some of the things that I've seen moving company owners say, experience, and I recommend going down this route to use. Like when someone wants to like have Supermove, like what's some of the selling features where guys have asked you questions, you're like, this is a ridiculous question?
A little bit, to be honest with you, no, but I think I'm kind of getting what you're putting down there. But I think a lot, depending on the size of the company too, right? I think is a huge, many different conversations, whether you've got 1 to 3 trucks and you're still kind of working on the trucks, you're still in that day to day. The main selling feature is the automations, right? The robust reporting. There's the ability to have total visibility of your company in every different lens, whether it be the sales, the finance, the ops, the dispatch. But then, that conversation is different though when you're talking to, someone like yourself with, 450 trucks up in the Canada area, right? Like, what are your pain points? What exactly are you looking to solve for? And I think the thing is the more honest a moving company owner can be about what their true pain is and what they're truly looking to solve for, will better help their case in picking the CRM system that they're ultimately looking for. But tying that in, though, change management, I think, is the toughest part with anything, right? Any industry. Making that change is difficult. But what we've seen is the ones that are good with change management, the ones that actually have a process to roll out any type of change, not just CRM, but any type of change in process, are the ones that are probably by far the most successful, and they get up and running the absolute fastest out of all.
Good answer. Does Supermove...
I'm not even sure I answered your question.
You did. You know what I took away from, and this is kind of what I was looking for, is, if I was a moving company owner standing there at a booth wanting to understand Supermove, before I am even thinking about changing CRM systems, what kind of things should I be thinking about? And you answered that, right? Which is find those ping points, make sure you've written down, these are the issues that we're having. These are the problems that we're having within our company. And can this CRM system fix those points? And maybe it's not Supermove, maybe it's another one, but I think
the biggest, and this just kind of struck a piece of me, I think the biggest thing is And I remember this as when I was in the industry, pain points for movers change every single day. So I remember for me, I'd have a major pain on a Monday. I'd be all fired up about it. We got to have a solution. But then Tuesday rolls around, and guess what? That Monday pain went away. I've got a new Tuesday pain, and I have a new Wednesday pain. So I would say another piece is when you are having these pain points or whatever these blockers are in your business, jot that shit down. Jot down so you can go back to it, because I see too many times people with a small pain, or what they think is a big pain is a real small pain, make these tremendous leaps and bounds when it could really be just a tweak of the process, or that pain is no longer a pain on a Friday like it was on Monday. Have the moving companies dial that pain in a little bit tighter, a little bit deeper, and find out what ultimately are they looking to solve for. Is it the customer experience side? Is it for the employee experience side? Is it a combination of both, or is it just visibility across the entire team? Because that was a big piece if you're not on a system, or I know there are some CRM systems there where there's not a lot of visibility. So everybody is operating in silos. Sales is here, ops is here, finance is here, and there's really no connecting points. Everybody's just kind of, head down in that silo. And I think the more we can break the walls down in these silos, the more successful not only your people are going to be, but your organization as a whole is going to be as well.
Do you think that there's like this weird monopoly going on where people only really just want to work with SmartMove, Movegistics, MoveIt, Supermove?
No, I mean, and this is, I'm sure my team, probably one June, is going to like fire me after this one, but I've said this for a long time, and I mean this wholeheartedly, right? Like, depending on where you are with your company, where are you at, there's an ask for every seat, right? So, there are people that would, how they operate their business, if they do just, if they just do local moves and they're keeping it kind of tight in here and not really out of the box solution, go with CRM company A, right? If you're looking for this particular feature and you operate this way and the best fit for you is CRM company B, that's great. Like, go work with them. It's okay. Now, of course, what I love to see, like, there be one CRM system that absolutely takes over the globe. Sure. But again, back to that initial piece of everybody operates so differently. Everybody wants all these different little handy dandy gadgets and features. I guess it's a race to see who builds them all under one platform. But even then, I guarantee you, if you were to take everything that Smart Moving has, Movegistics, MoveIt and Supermove, don't forget Ian over at Chariot, put all that into one. You combine all these platforms into one, I guarantee you there'll still be a majority of the people being like, oh, where's this feature? Oh, this doesn't work for me. I need something else. Like, there's no doubt, right? I mean, there's enough business to go around. And, I love my conversations with, the competitors or whatever you want to call them. They're like, we have great talks. I had a wonderful time with Jason over at MovingLetters.ai down at the Titan Retreat. I mean, shout out to Jason and his team. Great folks to have conversations with. But there's an ask for every seat, man. And for me to sit here and say, like, and I think you know me well enough now, and if you're not a good fit for us, I'm not going to try to land you in that seat. Because ultimately, what is that going to do? I'm going to put you in seat. You're going to struggle. It's going to be struggle bus for however long it's going to be. And you're going to end up what? Leaving us and going somewhere else. But when we do have those features.
And probably complaining along the way, too.
Yeah. And when 100%. You could be trashing all over Facebook or Insta chat or whatever you call these things nowadays. But so my day is putting people in the place that they belong in at the right time. And when we have that feature, that function, what have you, what are the chances are that you think they would come back if they were placed in the right spot, right? So that's how I've always been. Even when I was really, really deep in the sales page, like, I wouldn't try to sell somebody something that's not going to work for them. I like to go to sleep at night with a clear conscience. I don't like waking up and be like, man, I just slammed Mark Hirschi into this. Oh yeah, I got my big commission check. No, man, I like to sleep at night with a clear conscience.
I could have sworn that's how you set me up when I was trying out Supermove.
You know how we met, right? You hit me up with a damn salmon bagel, which is the best damn bagel I've ever had in a long time, with the arugula on top.
It was delicious.
No, you can ask anybody in the industry, and I take great pride in this, is I build the relationship before I even go to pitch the Supermove side of the house. It's just been my style, and I think and why it works is because I was a mover on the other side of that vendor table, and I go to these conferences and conventions, and every damn vendor would be, hey, you got to check this out. Hey, you want a demo? You want a demo? And I'm like, even if I wanted that product and was interested, I'd be so damn turned off because I just had 15 CRM companies hit me up about why they're the best, the all-in-one, the greatest it ever has. They all say they're the number one. They all have the best report, and it's like, who do I believe?
Well, and that's the story. That's how it is at the end of the day, right? It's but
everybody's number one, everybody's this
Sure.
and that. So for me, it's build a relationship. I want to know more about Mark, and not just Mark. I want to know about your family. I want to know about your kids. What do you love to do? At some point, people just like, dude, you haven't pitched me yet. I get this a lot at conferences. And I had this at the server one out in Orlando. I spoke with this guy for 2 days, and finally, after a couple drinks, he's like, dude, when are you going to put the pitch on me? I go, what pitch? He goes, when are you going to spit your game on Supermove? He's like, I want a freaking demo. And I'm like, well, I don't need to pitch anything now. You want to sign up for next Wednesday? I got Cam available 11 o'clock. How about that? And he's like, let's do it. Right? So I just have a totally different approach. I'm not there to sell. I'm there to make friends, have a good time, build a relationship. And hey, the more I can find out and learn about the Mark Hirschis of the world, the easier it is for me to basically say, hey, are you going to be a great fit, a good fit, or, should you be on pause for 6 months while everything's in the roadmap, right? So we just take the time, build a relationship, man. And if you build that, they end up coming. And I'm reaping the benefits of that right now. It's taken longer than I wanted to, but establishing those solid rock foundation relationships has been critical to my success over at Supermove and being on the road with these guys, 100%.
To tie that in as we end up, I think having that philosophy in any business, as a business owner, as, a moving consultant, to go out there and build relationships and build it in that structure, then constantly always thinking about the sale will build you lifelong relationships where customers will use you for years to come, then not just the one time.
Yeah.
Ryan, this has been great, buddy.
Dude, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much.
Let's go.
Woo! Let's go. This has been a pleasure. Ryan Marsh with Supermove. For anybody that's looking for a demo, don't reach out to Ryan. He doesn't offer that. He doesn't sell nothing. But, clearly Cam or somebody or Wong Jun does. But yeah, no, there'll be a link in the profile to reach out to Ryan. Make sure you hit him up. If you haven't connected with him, whether it's on, you're on LinkedIn, I'm assuming. And so hit him up. He'll have his LinkedIn profile there. So reach out to him. I always say do a demo, right? And in Supermove, I remember when I was first investigating them, they basically said, here you go. Here's a login. Let's just set you up, go test it out and just run with it. See if it works, right? Because a lot of times everything looks all pretty when you're doing this demo and until you actually start running through scenarios within your company. And even if you're going to do the demo, have a couple different moving scenarios ready to go so that you can hit them with these different situations and find out, is this the right CRM for me? Is it going to make sense? Will this fix those problems that we have? So until next time, everybody, stay Movified and enjoy your week.